In this video, I'm going to show you the biggest mistakes candidates make, what hiring managers are actually listening for, and exactly how to structure your answers so you stand out. And if you stay until the end, I'll give you a simple framework you can use in any QA interview with some example answers that work every time. So this isn't all about memorizing answers, it's about how you think, because that's what QA really is, and that's what you're being assessed on. So I'm going to take you through now what are the most common mistakes in an interview, and then later on I'll tell you how to answer them properly. So mistake number 1, talking about tools first, saying I've used Selenium, Cypress, Postman. No one is hiring you because you know a tool. Tools don't tell me how you think. Tools are useful, absolutely, and knowing a tool that a company uses is great, but trust me, tools don't tell me how you think, and no one is hiring you in the business because you know a tool. And this becomes a bigger issue later when candidates confuse activity with value, but I'll come back to that. Mistake number 2, giving textbook answers. Definitions, memorized responses. That tells me nothing about you and how you apply testing in the real world. You're not talking about things that actually matter. You're not giving me any context or any examples of how you've done it as well. You may as well just be reading straight out the ISTQB book. Mistake number 3, and I talk about it a lot on this channel, not talking about risk. If you don't talk about risk, you don't sound like a QA. Candidates describe what they do, but not what could go wrong, what matters most, and what the impact is. And once you fix this, your answers instantly sound stronger, and I'll show you how to exactly shortly. Number 4, over-focusing on automation. I'd automate everything. Well, for me, that's a red flag straight away. No, you wouldn't. And saying that shows a real lack of judgment. Think about it. Automation first approach is fine, but not automate everything. There has to be a level of analysis in there. Mistake number 5, not asking questions in an interview. QA is all about curiosity. So if you're not asking questions, that's a red flag. Have you really searched up on the role, the company, what it is that you're going to be doing? Ask questions, it'll always help. Challenge them a little bit. Talk about what it is that they do and how QA currently works in their organization. They'll love stuff like that, trust me. Giving me no real world examples. Saying, I would test. That's theoretical. I want to know about what it is you tested, why you tested it, what issues you found, etc. Give me some context, give me some examples from the real world, what it is that you've done during it as well. And that is a real key as well. Emphasize what you did, maybe as part of a wider team, that's absolutely fine. And what the benefit was as well that came out of it. Mistake number 7, and this probably sounds a bit strange, trying to be too perfect. Avoiding uncertainty actually makes you sound more junior. So you've got to talk about things that you've lessons learned, what it is that you've done well in the past, maybe what you've not done so well in the past, but how you've learned those lessons and how you've took them forward and introduced them into your testing now. Mistake number 8, ignoring the context. Testing is always contextual, so generic answers just won't land. Please keep them specific. Think about what it is the interviewer is asking you and make sure that your answer covers that. And if you're not sure, don't be afraid to ask. Mistake number 9, confusing activity with value. So I wouldn't say I ran 100 test cases. Well, great, but what were the test cases? What did they cover? That doesn't tell me anything about the impact. Tell me about one test case that you wrote that actually added value to the QA platform, what it actually did, how it helped, and what the impact that was as well. That'll go a lot further than just I wrote 100 test cases, trust me. Mistake number 10, no structure. Answers are all over the place, very hard to trust. It's almost again like you're just picking things out of the air, saying things and trying to highlight keywords you think that people are looking for. So yeah, just try and stick to the structure, try and keep your answers concise and to the point as well. And as I say, if you're never quite sure about a question, don't be afraid to ask. So if those are the mistakes, then you've come here, haven't you, to find out what a good answer actually sounds like. Well, here, I'm going to tell you. This is what I actually and other hiring managers want to hear. So every strong answer follows this: context, approach, risk, outcome. If you use the structure, you'll instantly sound more senior. So let's go for some examples. Example 1, a login page. A weak thing would be, I test valid and invalid inputs. Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious. That's what everybody does when they look at requirements. A stronger answer would be, I start by understanding what the login is protecting, financial data, user data, etc. Then I'll work out the flows, the risk, the security, the lockouts, the prioritization. So when I look at both of those answers, the insight I get from it is same scenario, but completely different level of thinking. And that's key. You've thought about it. You've thought about the requirement, the questions, the edge cases, everything around it. Are we challenging things? Are we being an analyst? I talk about it all the time. So that for me is really key. So example number 2, you're asked about regression testing. So a weak answer for me would be, I defined a regression test pack. Okay, well, what was in the test pack? What did it cover? Did it cover all the main flows, the critical paths? What it is that made you decide that that was the regression test pack, for example? So tell me about how you protect functionality, what the risk-based selection was, what trade-offs you had, what automated decisions did you have to make? Did you use any tools for this? Do you do it all manually? Do you automate it? Do you use AI, for example? Going a little bit deeper, tell me what you did, how you defined it, how you build, what you think regression testing is to you. Don't just give me stock answers. Example 3, you're asked about what your experience is of test automation. So the next example is, I ask you a question as, what would you automate? And a weak answer would be, I'd automate repetitive tasks. Okay. So what I think is a stronger answer would be, I'd automate where it adds value, stable areas, high frequency, critical paths, and importantly, what I'm not going to automate and why. Delve deeper, give me some insight, some context around what your thinking is, how you approach automation testing. I'll get onto the points later on about the tooling that you use or the frameworks or the coding languages. But first of all, I want to understand, do you actually understand what automation is and what its actual impact is on the whole software testing lifecycle? Another common question is, you're going to be asked about defects, defect processes, defect triage. What is it that you do when you find a bug? And people sometimes will just say, well, I found an issue and I logged the bug. Okay, but now explain to me the context, the risk, the impact, the outcome. Now you're showing value and not just activity. I really want to understand, do you know how you found a defect? What the steps that you followed? Have you actually investigated it yourself? Did you actually talk to the development team or the business analyst? Just delve that little bit deeper in what your thinking was before you actually triaged it and said it was actually a bug and a defect. So yes, just got a little bit deeper then. I find something, I log it as a bug, and then I just leave the developer to sort. Example number 5, and a really key thing in the testing world, as we all know, when time is of the essence, prioritization. So how do you prioritize your test, for example? Well, a weak answer will be, I test everything and I don't stop until it's all tested. Well, that's probably not a great answer because that doesn't always work in the real world. So a stronger answer would be, I prioritize based on risk, impact, likelihood, user importance. This is a deeper insight, isn't it? This is where we want to be. This is how we want to test. This is you offering the business, the stakeholders, the product owners, whoever it is, your view on what good looks like and what should be tested. Sometimes that decision is taken out of your hands, but you just need to make sure that from you as a QA professional have highlighted why this is critical testing, what should be tested, what you could potentially leave out. And if there's nothing to leave out and you do need to test everything, explain why, but give me some examples in your interview. So let's zoom out wider and think about it as a whole. All strong answers have one thing in common. They show how you think. But they also now show you how you assess risk, and they show you how to make decisions. That's what I'm hiring for, not execution, judgment. So here's a final recap. If you take one thing from this video, use this in every answer that you give in an interview. And it's key and critical. So if you only walk away with one thing today, remember this. Context, approach, risk, outcome. Do this and you'll immediately stand out. And if you want to go deeper into this, I've put together a free QA interview playbook. It breaks down exactly how to structure answers, what hiring managers are looking for, and how to stand out. So the link will be in the description, and I'll also add it into the comment, and it's completely free. So if you're serious about getting into QA, or you're going for your next QA job, what's this next? Because this is where most people are still getting it wrong. Goodbye.